It's a beautiful Saturday, and tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we have a Transformer Slag podcast live stream, so be sure to swing by and check that out. Hang out, talk Transformers, answer some super chat questions, and review the news over the past week of what's going on in the Transformer world. But we got some brand news today in relation to that of the MP-52 Starscream version 2.0. And it's that of some accessories and a very difficult way to get it, and some fans are not too happy about it. So, Takara-Tomy Mall's website updated their MP-52 Plus Thundercracker 2.0 listing with news of a planned MP-52 Plus Skywarp. Oh, hey, awesome, that's great. We're going to be getting Skywarp. Not a big surprise, but we're going to be getting him. But on top of that, they also announced the Masterpiece Jetron campaign that is going to be held. Now, Jetrons are pretty much what the Seeker Jets were called in Japan in Generation 1, and the planned campaign that they have here is that if you purchase the MP-52 Starscream, the MP-52 Plus Takara-Tomy Mall exclusive Thundercracker, and the soon-to-come MP-52 Plus Skywarp 2.0, with those three purchases, inside the packaging, there'll be a flap for the product questionnaire. And you answer this questionnaire and you send it in to get the extra Emperor of Destruction parts for MP-52 Starscream 2.0. You just got to pay for the shipping, they say here. So what that means essentially is you have to buy all three of them to get the extra accessories that could give you King Starscream from the 1986 Transformers movie. And they show the photo here. It pretty much comes with the cape, the two shoulder pads, a clip accessory, the crown itself done in a chrome kind of gold, and two extra booster pieces. Now, I think that the two extra booster pieces are because these booster pieces, when they were included with Starscream, they're like a pinkish hue. With the Thundercracker, it's like a greenish kind of yellow, and this one is a strong yellow. So it's a different, once again, different blast accessories and different colors, if you will. So a little extra there too. Some fans aren't too happy about it, having to buy all three just to get the King Starscream thing, considering MP11 had it in the package. And I figured I was going to use this opportunity right now to kind of talk about like the history of the King Starscream kind of thing in merchandising. Because, you know, after the 1986 movie, it was just this brief moment. Hey, Starscream with that armor and that outfit, he dies. That's it. Spoiler. Sorry that I spoiled a 35-year-old movie for you. The first time we actually got merch of King Starscream was all the way back in 2002 during the SCF PVC line, and these were these small little PVCs with very limited articulation. And in Act 8. The chase figure was King Starscream. And I remember this thing was going for like $500, the chase figure. Absolutely crazy when you think about it. But back then in 2002, there was no Generation 1 rehash products. Like, we just came off of Car Robots. We were just going into Armada. So there really wasn't anything that gave us that Generation 1 flavor, and here was these little PVC figures based off of Generation 1 designs, and then here's one based off of Starscream, and it was a chase figure. 1 out of every 10 cases had one of these. Of course, a year later, then the SCF PVC line would then be brought over to America as the Heroes of Cybertron line, and that expensive chase Starscream, slightly remolded, given a window, a light piping window, and was released in mass release here in America. Easy to get, didn't have to spend $500, so that worked out fine. Also in the same year, in 2002, was the Mega SCF PVC line. Very similar to that of what we have today with RED, and we had a fancy Starscream that had interchangeable parts, had two open hands, it had clenched fists, and of course it had his King Starscream get up along with Megatron in gun mode to have a swappable hand. It was a cool little figure, and probably was the best version of King Starscream for the longest time because it was articulated and you could actually do those cool poses and stuff. And you could remove his head, so you could reenact all kinds of crazy stuff. Then we fast forward to 2005 and kind of an out of continuity King Starscream, but our first ever transformable King Starscream figure came from that of the Galaxy Force, aka Cybertron line. Of course, technically it came out in Cybertron first, the American version, and it was that of the Supreme class Starscream. And it was just this giant Starscream from the Unicron trilogy, and it had a crown that you could put on top. Kind of was a spoiler for what would happen to him much later in the series. I don't want to dive too much into it if you haven't watched Galaxy Force yet. This big mold afterwards would get reissued into 2014's Supreme Starscream Platinum Edition, which is pretty much the exact same toy, but with more of a G1 kind of color scheme on it, as opposed to how he looked in that of Galaxy Force and Cybertron in 2005, 2006. So there was that in 2005. And then in 2008, Diamond Distributing and Diamond Select, they had a statue of King Starscream. It was 600 apiece, done by Art Asylum. Limited run, kind of a nice statue. I know that Big Bad Toy Store had a whole bunch of those on clearance. I picked up a few of them. I didn't pick up that one, though, but it would have been nice to have, like those little statues when they're affordable. And then there'd be nothing for years of King Starscream stuff. And then we get to 2012's MP-11 Starscream Masterpiece, the second attempt, but not version 2.0. And this one was nicknamed New Emperor of Destruction Starscream because it came with the accessories to make King Starscream as well as just the regular Masterpiece one. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. And it even, when you had the Sunstorm version, which was a repaint remold of it, they even included the King Starscream stuff with it in his own little spins. You could do like a King Sunstorm. Pretty cool, I guess. 2015, in the Combiner Wars line, we had the Leader Class Thrilling 30 Jetfire remolded, repainted into Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp. The Starscream also came with a crown, so you could reenact and create King Starscream. Yay. Not a great mold for the Seekers, probably the most expensive Seeker trio in retail, not counting masterpieces and stuff. Kind of a weird journey. I know I have the Skywarp because I remember getting him on clearance at some point. I never got the Starscream or the Thundercracker just because it was like, I'm not paying leader class for that, for an out of scale big leader. And the Jetfire was cool at the time. It's not the best Jetfire ever, but at the time it was pretty sweet. So pretty cool stuff. Then we jump into also in 2015. There was the AGC Hong Kong Convention exclusive King Starscream Coronation kit, which was this little SD Starscream figure that was done by Mechanation. It's cute. I have the Hot Rod one of them. They're pretty cool. And in that same year, Tiny Titans, the little blind packed, unarticulated little figures that came out during the Robots in Disguise TV series, they did a Generation 1 King Starscream figure. I actually have this one. And the last one, and it's the most recent one that we're going to have soon, is the 2021 Robot Enhanced Design RED Coronation Starscream, which is our Starscream figure in RED that comes with the King Starscream stuff. So there's that one too. So there's quite a few King Starscreams, and now we have this one. And it's something where, masterpiece completists or masterpiece people that collect everything of the accessories and stuff like that, or even people who are just completists of Starscream, they're not happy that this is going to be a costly route for them in order to get this. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because these kind of weird campaign items, they sometimes end up in large numbers in the secondary market. Usually, I call them warehouse finds. They usually end up like that. Or alternatively, if there is a much of a demand, they end up being an Amazon exclusive later on or something, in Japan, mind you. Or, dare I say, it falls into the hand of a third-party company and they just make their own, because that's never happened before. One thing that I left completely off of this list of all this King Starscream stuff is all the third-party King Starscream stuff that exists. I know that I owned a kit for my original deluxe Classics Starscream, King Starscream kit. I still have it to this day because, back then we thought that was the limit. Classics was as good as we're going to get. Little did we know, eh? But yeah, so this is, again, it's not surprising. This is just typical of the Transformers Masterpiece line. We knew that this was going to come sooner or later. it just the limited and difficult nature of it is something that's kind of a surprise. But I think it was probably just to keep it within the budget. I think if this stuff would have been included with Starscream, it would have made him even more expensive than he already is. He's pushing that $300 price point. It would have gone even higher. They probably, I mean, this included probably would have been what, maybe $350. Who knows what they would have done. But the only good news that comes from it, even though it's also not a shocker, is hey, Skywarp's coming too. And hopefully he won't be difficult to get, because usually the black repaint Skywarp of this trio always seems to be the more difficult one. Whether it be a store exclusive, a web exclusive, a convention exclusive, there's always some weird loophole you have to jump through to get your Skywarp to complete your Seekers. So at least let's hope maybe that Skywarp will be a retail release. And Thundercracker will just be the difficult one. And hey, if you get all three and you have someone in Japan that could hook you up and do this product questionnaire, you could get yourself your new Emperor of Destruction. So let me know what you think about this. And again, we got a stream tonight. Be sure to come by, and we'll just hang out and talk Transformers in this cool little environment that we have in the crazy world we're living in today.